What's up, ninjas? What is going on? What is going on? It's been a minute or two or three. I know it's been a while since I've actually uploaded a video, and I've just been really busy, ninjas. A lot's been going on. As you guys know by now, the ones who have been watching the last few videos, this whole last summer, I've been going solo. This was the first year in 13 years that I've literally gone solo all by myself. And then when the aerations kicked in, which was right around the time I made this last video about Tiny, that, I was getting it back. I still had a rental, and I just got really busy, and I wanted to finish the season, and I just didn't want to, I didn't fool with the camera at all. So anyway, a lot's been going on, a lot of changes, a lot of things have happened, and I want to talk about all of them, but I think it only makes sense and it's appropriate to go ahead and pick up where we stopped and talk about Tiny and dedicate this video to Tiny and give you an update of what's been going on. Now, in the last video, ninjas, I did mention that what the cost was. It was about $20,000 for all the repairs, but I didn't go into it because I didn't have Tiny back yet. And now that I have him back, I've been using him for a couple of weeks. And I just got to the point where I can actually pick up a camera. I've uploaded a couple of small little videos here and there, but nothing crazy. So, but now that I am caught up, I actually got some help, and I think I got another guy starting next week. So it's going to be really nice. It's nice to have help, period. And the new Wannabe Ninja is so far doing really well. Don't know how this next week looks like because they're calling for a lot of rain for a couple of days. So, and I've got some shrubbery and mulch stuff lined up. So we'll see whatever day we end up working. I'll definitely be making some videos. But anyway, let's get to Tiny. So Tiny is back. He's been gone for a couple of weeks. I've been kind of keeping you up to date of what's been going on and what they've been telling me, and that, well, I didn't go into detail, but I think I told you that, he's basically, I shared some pictures. Of course, they had to take the whole cab off. By the way, I am recording off my phone, so there's not going to be any editing on this or anything like that. So just a heads up on that. So anyway, they took the cab off. Well, let me refresh some of y'all's memory of what was going on. Tiny was literally dying on me. I would be driving down the road, and all of a sudden I would lose power to the pedal and it would just die on me. So I was forced to, pull to the side and just wait for a few minutes, turn the key off, of course, and all that, and then it would fire right back up. So that was what was going on with it. Now, there was a couple of other issues that Tiny had that were not really dramatic, but they needed to be fixed. And I was so busy, and the dealer told me I should be okay to use it until I got some time to drop it off. So when all this happened with Tiny dying on me, then at that point, it just made sense to turn it in for everything. And so I did. So let's get to some of the issues that I actually had that I was dealing with for all summer long. Some of you might remember Tiny had a big clunk every time you'd go from reverse to drive to reverse, park to reverse, park to drive, vice versa, all those. And so one way I was going around that, not to get that big hit in the transmission, I would always, if I had to go from reverse to drive or from drive to park or whatever, I would actually go to neutral first to release all that tension, and then I would switch the gear to reverse or wherever I needed to, or drive or park, and it wouldn't be as bad. So that was kind of like buying me time. And so that's what I did. A lot of us, including myself and a lot of you ninjas who had pointed it out to me, that you were thinking it was a transmission mount, probably. I thought the same thing. I still think that that's the case. And but they told me that was not the case. They told me it was the actual transfer case. So for a lot of you ninjas who don't know what a transfer case is, I ended up actually getting a brand new one. So I'll go ahead and show you because it's easy to point out right here. That is the transfer case right there, and you can see it's brand new. And my understanding, and I'm not a mechanic, I've said this before, and correct me if I'm wrong, But a transfer case has a lot to do with the four-wheel drive stuff. So I'm not sure why they said that this was the reason. Zoom it in. For the, clunk and the hit between reverse and drive and park. Well, come to find out, they did replace, and they said they found a bunch of metal shavings and things like that inside that were really just all torn apart. Well, I'm glad they caught that, and I'm glad they replaced that if that was a part that was going bad. But that did not fix the clunk in my shifting gears. So this is why I say, it was a $20,000 repair total combined with other things that they fixed. We'll get into that here in a second. But it didn't fix it. So I have to take it back. So I'll try to do that probably sometime first of this next year, since I'm going to be pretty busy now before Christmas and New Year's and all the holidays. By the way, I hope all you ninjas had a good Thanksgiving. I know I did. I spent a lot of time with my family, and I went out of town. So anyway, that was one of them. And if you're wondering the cost of that, since the total repair bill was around $20,000, just for that itself, I think they told me it was around $6,000-7,000. Okay, just right there, and that included parts, labor, and all. All right, not cheap, no doubt. Not cheap at all. By the way, I'm gonna need new tires. I still got a little bit of life left, but not much. Okay, you can just tell. And how a lot of people will look at these and they'll put like a quarter or something, and all that. But what I really look at is these right here. Okay, and you can tell I don't have much. All right. So that's going to be another, I don't know, $1,000, if not more. Just depends where I get them, because these are 35s. And they've been good tires. They've actually lasted me season and a half, I guess. Anyway, but when I dropped Tiny off, they took the cab off. I've shared pictures on Instagram. I've shared pictures even on the community page on YouTube. And they called me back and they said, "Banik." I said, "Don't give me that, Banik." What? They're like, "Do you put any additives in your fuel?" Well, I'm not going to lie to them. Of course, I said, "Yeah, I do. I don't do it every fill up, as some people would recommend that and do." But I said I probably do it every second or third fill up. I'll put a little additive, since this is a diesel, by the way, for those of you who are maybe new to the channel. This is the 6.7 liter V8. And so I do, just to kind of help things out, because you know how diesel is a lot more greasier than regular fuel. I was like, but I don't do it all the time. Why? And they said, well, sometimes when people put that additive in there, there's a cap on top of the bottle that a lot of people drop in the tank, because they felt like something was in the tank that was clogging up the fuel to the motor. And I instantly told them, I said, nope, not for me, because the stuff that I use is called Hot Shot. You actually have to take a knife and cut it out and actually throw it away. So that's something I do every time I open a brand new bottle. And so I knew that was not the case for me. So I told them, you can check, but I'm telling you, if something is in the fuel tank, it's not from me, it's from one of the gas stations. And they dropped the fuel tank, they looked at it inside, they called me back and said, "Hey, we dropped the fuel tank." And I'm like, "Okay, did you find anything?" They're like, "Nothing but fresh Ninja fuel." That's exactly what they said. And I was like, all right, well, I told you there's nothing in there. So they ran the computer again, and it was, the code that was throwing was a low fuel pressure and high fuel pressure. All right, so they was throwing two codes. So for those of you who may not know what those things are, Tiny has two fuel pumps as it has two fuel filters. Now, I have shared in the past the fuel filters. One is under the hood, one is under the truck, and you're supposed to replace those, I think, every 15,000 miles. Either 15 or 30. I think 15. So they were saying, well, we have seen a few in the past with having bad fuel pumps or the fuel pump going bad. And we don't see many of them, but the few that we have seen, it's always the low fuel pressure one. So what they did is they replaced the low fuel pressure pump, which is the one that's underneath the truck. Now, the low fuel pressure one basically sends the fuel to the high fuel pressure pump that's under the hood. And then that high fuel pressure pump sends the fuel to the fuel injectors, and that's how it, combusts, and that's how the motor is running. So they replaced the bottom one, cleared the codes, drove it for about 40, 50 miles, and they were like, okay, we fixed the problem. That was it. So at that time, I was returning the Dodge that I had, and they told me my truck was ready for pickup. I returned the Dodge, picked the truck up, hit the highway, picked up speed, 65, 70, boom, kicked and died on me. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So I lost power and had to get off the exit and turn it on and off, and then turn right back around to the dealer. As I'm going back to the dealer, I call him. I said, hey, you guys told me you fixed my truck. My truck's not fixed. And I told them what happened. So they're like, Nick, we drove that thing for about 40, 50 miles. And they did, because I saw it on one of the trip meters. So they weren't lying on that. And they said, it didn't show any codes or nothing. Your truck that's why we thought it was fixed. Can you bring it back right now? I'm like, oh, believe me, that is exactly what I'm doing. So I came back, got back to the dealership. They ran the tests again. And now the second time it was reading high fuel pressure pump code. And the mechanic looked at me. His name was John, I believe. Real nice guy. He's one of the best from what I've been told at the dealership, and a couple of other people who used to work there. And he looked at me and he said, dude, yeah, are you ready for this? And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, well, the first time it was reading both codes. That's why we replaced the bottom one, because that's the one we originally thought it was out, because those have gone out in the past a few times on other vehicles. But now that one's replaced, it's reading the high fuel pressure pump. I was like, okay, so that means it's the fuel pump, underneath the hood, right? He's like, correct. I was like, okay, so that means you just got to replace that one, right? He goes, wrong. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And he said, this one is a lot more complicated. And this one, we have to take the whole cab off. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. He goes, so here's what happened. Let me tell you basically what they told me what happened. So the bottom low fuel pressure pump originally was the first one that went out, but it was still working on and off. And this was during that time as it was dying on me, and I was waiting for them to find me a rental. And so it was about a week that I went with a truck that's kind of dying on me here and there. So when the low fuel pressure pump went out, it was starving the high fuel pressure pump underneath the hood. So that's what happened. When the bottom one went out, it was starving the one underneath the hood, and that one got hot because it got air in it. And when it got hot, it actually internally exploded. Basically, I think they used a different terminology for it, but basically that's what happened. And I'm like, okay. And so when that one does that, it shoots a bunch of metal particles into my fuel injectors. I was like, oh man, what in the world? Because anytime somebody says fuel injectors, that's a serious problem. So they're like, you basically have to get all new fuel injectors, new fuel pumps, the whole shebang, new fuel lines, everything. The whole fuel system has to be replaced because there's a bunch of metal shavings, particles inside your fuel injectors. And that is what happened. So they had to take the cab off. I've shared pictures, like I said, even on Instagram. If you don't follow me, SG_ninjas_official. I share a lot of stuff on there. I've been really active on there compared to YouTube. And they had to replace the whole thing. So the way they told me, they're like, you have a truck that's got 80, 90,000 miles, but your motor is rebuilt, basically your whole fuel system, and kind of like a brand new motor at this point. So that is, you know, and I asked them, well, how much is that going to cost? And they're like around 12,000 bucks. So when you add the 7,000 for the transfer case and the 12,000 for taking the cab off and the both fuel pumps, fuel lines, fuel, you know, all that, everything, new fuel injectors, it's right around $20,000. And still not fixed when it comes to the clunk in the shifting gears. So I'm going to have to take it back for that. Anyway, ninjas, that is what's been going on. But as far as the fuel stuff, it's fixed. I have no problem. I can go ahead and pop the hood for you. I have no problem with Tiny whatsoever anymore. Runs really good. Honestly, like, it runs better than what it did. Kind of reminds me how it ran when I actually first bought it, which, I mean, $20,000. It's like a brand new truck. I mean, they had the whole cab was off, and they did all the fuel lines, the fuel filters, and brand new, lost my train of thought right now, fuel injectors, brand new fuel injectors. So, I mean, this truck should be good to go. I shouldn't have any issues with it probably for another 100,000. You know, it sucks, but things will happen, you know. It's just... So I guess to conclude this video, or as it's coming to an end, because it's already 16 minutes, would I recommend the diesel again? And ninjas, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Yes, I would. I'm saving so much on fuel. It's not even funny. Excuse me. So yeah, I would. It's just a lot more powerful. Diesel. And you know, this is what they told me. They're like, Nick, we would just want to tell you that please understand, your motor didn't give out on you. These motors are bulletproof. It's the components to the motor that went out. Unfortunately, the way everything is tied and connected and built, you know, it's gonna, you know, that's what happens when the components go out. It's gonna act out. So, you know, the motor is good, but now it's even better because it's rebuilt. It's got all brand new fuel injectors, fuel lines, and fuel filters and all that good stuff. So, yeah. When it's really cold, this line like closes completely. And I asked them about that. I was like, is that normal? And they told me yes. And when it warms up, they said it'll expand. That's what it's supposed to do. So now that it's hot, since I just parked, yeah, it's good. I guess that's normal. So anyway, it is pretty much due for an oil change here soon. So I'll be taking that, and I'll probably have to replace the fuel filters as well. There's two of them, one underneath the truck, and then the other one is right there. So there you go. That's what happened to Tiny. $20,000 repair, and then some stuff is still not fixed. And if you're wondering, did I pay the $20,000 out of pocket? Nope, did not. It was all warranted because I had the extended warranty. I did have to pay my deductible, which is $100. So that's all I paid. And they took care of me on the rental. So I had 2 different rentals, and they took care of me on that. So overall, I'm really happy with my truck. I'm really happy, I mean, with my dealership and how they handled the situation. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're looking to buy a diesel, especially a brand new diesel, please, my advice to you is get the extended warranty. Which in my opinion, I don't care if you're getting a diesel or a gas burner, if you're getting a work truck that's constantly going to be towing, pulling, I mean, this is literally what you're going to be making your money with and your living, I think it would be smart. You should be getting that extended warranty. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, I'm back, and I should be back to normal with videos. It's been really crazy. But I got a helper, and he's been great. So we'll get into that hopefully this next week sometime, and possibly starting another one next week as well. So I'm really busy with shrubbery now coming up and mulch and stuff. I was really slammed with the aerations I mean, absolutely crazy. I did more aerations this year solo than I did any other year when I had employees. I think I generated over 20 grand in about a month, if not a little longer. But I mean, it was insane. And so that's why the videos just had to stop. Prioritize, ninjas. You got to prioritize. YouTube is fun. I love making videos. I love entertaining. I love sharing my journey, the good, the bad, no matter what I come across or what I get into. And sometimes I learn from you ninjas. Sometimes I'm sharing something that might help some of you out. But at the end of the day, you know, my priority is my family and my business, because my business is what keeps things rolling for everybody and everything. So, you know, sometimes YouTube just has to take a break. But all right, that's that. And yeah, I'm back. Oh, one last thing I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to get into it too much. It's already 20 minutes. But I did get a new blower rack from Green Touch. Big shout out to them. It's the camo version. Really like it. And I also got a brand new blower from Maruyama. I don't know how many of you guys out there use them, like them. Any pros or cons? We've been using it all week this week, particularly the new Wannabe Ninja. And so far he likes it. There's a little bit of one thing that is kind of like, yeah, you know, but we'll get into that in another video. Right there. And it is the BL70. So I will definitely make another video reviewing that. We've been using a crap ton in the stand-on blower. That thing has been a lifesaver when it comes to leaves this season. It's just been insane. Absolutely love it. And I will have me another one probably by next fall, just in case something happens to this one. I'm the type of individual, I like to have multiple things of everything, just in case something goes down, that it doesn't stop me in my production. Just makes me that much more dependable, and the business keeps rolling. Because at the end of the day, ninjas, these wheels, they got to be turning, you know, and that's what makes the whole show going. There's this one ninja that keeps telling me to paint these black so it'll match Tiny. I don't know about that. What do you ninjas think? Should I do it? I don't know. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate everybody who's been reaching out to me, checking up on me, and asking if I'm okay, and if, you know, what's up with me and YouTube, and, you know, if I'm going to be making more videos. And that really means a lot to me. I appreciate you guys. You have no idea. But everything's good. I've just been slicing and dicing. All right. We'll see you at the next one. Take care. Peace.